Hello, my name is Alessia Miller, and my oral presentation is on Phyllis Wheatley. Phyllis Wheatley is key to American literature because she was the first African American woman to have her work published. Not only was she the first African American woman to have her work published, she was also the second woman to have her work published in America, which is very key because during that time, it was very uncommon for women to be recognized for such great work. Miss Phyllis was originally born in Africa. The exact place is unknown, but it's thought to be present-day Guyana. She was actually kidnapped from her family at the very young age of 8 years old and sold into slavery over in Boston, Massachusetts, where she was bought by John and Susanna Wheatley. John and Susanna actually raised Phyllis as one of the daughters of their family. She wasn't a typical slave. Their actual twin daughter and son, Mary and Nathaniel, actually took time and long hours to teach Phyllis how to read, write, and etc. Phyllis was actually also very fluent in many different languages, which was uncommon for a slave. She didn't have the typical slave life. She was being taught and was able to read and write, which gave her much respect from the African American community. They all looked up to her because of that. Two great writings in the research from Phyllis was His Excellency General Washington being brought from Africa to America. Those were two key poems that were brought up several times in research. The most significant part of His Excellency General Washington was the ending where it reads, "Proceed, great chief, with virtue on thy side. Thy ever action led thy goddess guide. A crown and mansion, a throne that shine, with gold unfading, Washington be thine." Research actually says that Ms. Phyllis was actually one of the first ones to actually recognize and label George Washington as the leader and the president of our nation, the first president of our nation. He actually reached back out to Phyllis in a letter, and he actually stated that if she was ever in the area, that he would like for her to come by and meet him because of such great work and such kind words that she had wrote about him. He thought very highly of Phyllis, and like I said, he did write her back in a letter that actually got to her late. And the other poem that was highlighted and significantly talked about in the research was "Being Brought from Africa." "Being Brought from Africa" read this. "'Twas mercy brought from my pagan land, taught me benighted souls to understand that there's a God, that there's a Savior too, whence our redemption neither sought nor knew. Some view or some stable race with scornful eye, the color is diabolic dye. Remember Christians, Negroes, black as Cain, may be refined and join the angelic train." In my research, I realized that just like in Broad Street, Miss Phyllis had a way with her words and her metaphors. She put a lot about she wrote a lot about she put a lot of her religious views in her writing. Uh, with being brought from Africa, she states that there's a God, that there's a Savior too. That, even though she was stolen from her family, she still found Christ, and I feel like, in my personal opinion, I feel like she still was able to thank God because of how far the Wheatleys were able to take her. Susanna and John thought very highly of Phyllis. They even thought to send her to England to broaden and enhance her writing and have her meet different people over there. And she flew over there with Nathaniel, and she was able to meet Countess Vaughn, Countess Hodgson. Countess Hodgson was very important to Phyllis, and that is noted because she actually dedicated her book of poems to Countess Hodgson. And during her trip over in England, the Englanders thought it was very tragic and unfortunate that America still has slavery. In conclusion, Phyllis eventually was freed in the year of 1778 because Mr. John Whitley died, and in his will he stated that he wanted Whitley to be free. Whitley eventually married her husband John Peter, and when she married him, they actually had children. Unfortunately, Phyllis actually passed away by herself in 1775. I'm sorry, 1784. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask. Sorry, I stuttered a lot and may have skipped over a few bits and pieces of information. But again, if anyone has questions, please reach out. I will be willing to answer. Thank you.